Hello everyone, you're welcome to this lesson. In this video, we are going to solve two examples under limits at infinity. Okay, let's look at the first example. Okay, so I have this question here. You have to find the limit of the square root of 3x squared plus 6 divided by 5 minus 2x as x approaches infinity. Okay, so let's look at how you are going to solve this question. Okay, so if you try the direct substitution method here, you are going to have an indeterminate form. Okay, so there will be no need for us to try it. So what you have to do is to find a way to compute this limit. Okay, so to do this, you are going to apply factorization here. Okay, and then after the factorization, you have to do cancellation, and then from there we can compute our limit. So let's look at what you are going to do. So before we start the factorization, what you are going to do is that we are going to look at the denominator. Okay, we will look at the expression in the denominator, and then after taking a look at this expression, we will consider the highest power of what? X. Okay, then after getting the highest power of x, what we are going to do is that we will factor the highest power of x out from both the numerator and then the denominator. Okay, so in this case, the highest power of x in the denominator is just what? X. Okay, so what you are going to do is that you are going to factor x out from both the numerator and then the denominator. So let's look at what you are going to do. So I will start with the denominator. Okay, so you are going to have the limit as x approaches infinity, and then for the denominator we are going to have x bracket open 5 over x minus 2. Okay, that will be the factorized form. Okay, so now let's focus on the numerator. So for the numerator, we have the square root of 3x squared plus 6. Okay, and then we want to factor x out of this expression. Okay, so to factor x out, what I'll do is that I will first of all factor x squared out from this expression here. Okay, so we are going to have x squared bracket open 3 plus 6 over x squared. Okay, this is what you are going to have. Okay, so I can write this as the square root of x squared. Okay, multiplying bracket open 3 plus 6 over x squared. Okay, I can write it as that. Okay, so this is what we have now. Okay, so now let's take a close look at the square root of what? X squared. Okay, the square root of x squared will be equal to the absolute value of what? X. Okay, let's look at the reason why I'm saying this. Okay, the reason why I'm saying this is because if you consider x to be a negative value or a positive value, we are still going to get our answer to be what? A positive value. For example, the square root of minus 2 squared, okay, will give us what? 2, okay, and then the square root of what? 2 squared will also give us what? 2, okay. So whether x is a negative value or a positive value, we are going to get what? A positive value. That's why I'm saying that the square root of what? X squared will give us what? The absolute value of what? X. Because if I take the absolute value of minus 2, we are going to have 2, and then if I take the absolute value of 2, we are going to get what? 2. Okay, so whether x will be a negative value or a positive value, in this case our answer is going to be what? A positive value. That's why I'm saying that the square root of what? X squared will be equal to the absolute value of what? X. Okay, but one thing you have to know is that from the definition of absolute values, the absolute value of x, okay, can be equal to x or what? Minus x. Okay, the absolute value of x will be equal to x if x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, and then will be equal to minus x if x is less than 0. Okay, so you know that this absolute value of x that we have here can mean two things. It can either be equal to x or be equal to what? Minus x. Okay, but how do we know that it will be equal to x or what? Minus x? We can tell that depending on the value of x, and then we know that if x is greater than or equal to 0, then the absolute value of x will be equal to x. And then if x is less than 0, then it is going to be what? Minus x. Okay. So in this case, from the question, we are approaching what? Positive infinity. Okay, that's what the question has given us. Okay, we are approaching what? Positive infinity. So that will tell you that the x values are going to be what? Greater than 0, which means that the x values are going to be in this domain here. So therefore, our absolute value here will just be equal to what? X. Okay, so therefore, hold on and let me free up some space. Okay, so now we can write this whole expression as x, okay, multiplying the square root of 3 plus 6 over what? X squared, because you know that the square root of x squared will be equal to what? The absolute value of the absolute value of what? X. And in this case, since x is approaching positive infinity, that refers to what? Values that are what? Greater than 0. So we can consider what? The absolute value of what? X to be equal to what? X. So that's why I have what? This x here. Okay, so now you see that we have factored x out of what? The numerator also. So we can bring it here. So we are going to have x bracket open the square root of what? 3 plus 6 over what? X squared. This is what you are going to have. Okay, so now we can continue. Okay, so now we can do the cancellation. Okay, this will cancel out this. So at the end, we are just going to have the limit as x approaches infinity for the square root of 3 plus 6 over x squared divided by 5 over x minus 2. Okay, this is what you are going to have. Okay, so let's do the direct substitution again. If you do that, you are going to have 3 plus 6 over infinity squared divided by 5 over infinity minus 2. Okay, alright, so this value will approach 0, this value also approach 0. So at the end, you're just going to have the square root of 3 divided by what? Minus 2, which will be equal to minus root 3 on what? 2. So this will be our answer. Okay, so let's look at another case. Okay, what if x is approaching minus infinity? Let's look at that case also. Okay, so in this case, we are considering x to be approaching what? Minus infinity. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so with this one, I'm going to skip the factorization process, okay, because we already know how to do that. So you know that we have to factor x out from both the numerator and then the denominator, okay, and then that is going to give us the limit as x approaches minus infinity for the absolute value of x, okay, multiplying the square root of 3 plus 6 over what? X squared, okay, divided by x bracket open 5 over x minus 2. This is what you are going to have. Okay, so our main focus will be on the absolute value of what? X, because this can be equal to x or minus x. Okay, and then we learned that it will be equal to x if x is greater than or equal to what? 0, and then it will be equal to minus x if x is what? Less than what? 0. Okay, and in this case you are approaching what? Minus infinity, which means that what? X will be what? Less than what? 0. So our x will be in this domain. So therefore the absolute value of x in this case will be equal to what? Minus what? X. Okay, so let's do the substitution. We're going to have the limit as x approaches what? Minus infinity for minus x. Okay, bracket open the square root of 3 plus 6 over x squared. Okay, divided by x bracket open 5 over x minus 2. Okay, this is what you are going to have. So now you can do the cancellation. This will cancel out this. Okay, so from this point, let's do the direct substitution. Okay, so you have minus the square root of 3 plus 6 over infinity squared. Okay, divided by infinity squared, okay, divided by 5 over 5 over infinity minus 2. Okay, so this value will approach 0, this will also approach 0. So at the end we are just going to have minus root 3 divided by minus 2 this and this will cancel out. So at the end, you're just going to have square root of 3 on 2. So this will be our answer. So this is how to go about these questions. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel.